Here we are, revisiting the nitrogen cycle. And what I'd like to do next, well, let me take a step back. So what we've done so far is we've talked a little bit about the inputs. We've talked about nitrogen fixation. We've talked about, which is not on this slide, but we've talked about, I guess it is on the slide. We've talked about nitrogen fixation via Rhizobia species, which is a symbiotic relationship between Rhizobia species and plants. We've talked about non-symbiotic fixation with blue-green algae. We've talked about the Haber-Bosch process as an input. We briefly touched on fertilizers via the creation of nitrogen-based fertilizers via the Haber-Bosch process. At that same time on that slide or slide set, we talked briefly about amendments that include nitrogen. So we can add either naturally or anthropogenically nitrogen to a soil. After that product is added to the soil, nitrogen typically undergoes reactions within the soil. And so what I want to do for this particular slide set or video is to focus on the definitions in terms of the transformations. And so we're going to focus on mineralization, immobilization, and nitrification. And what do they mean? Okay, so the transformations that occur within soils that keep nitrogen in the soil are threefold: mineralization, immobilization, and nitrification. So if you just so happen to have your notes in front of you and you open up the notes to the nitrogen cycle, you can follow along with me and you can keep, of course, take notes here as well and write down what these definitions are. But you can see these transformations in the nitrogen cycle itself that was presented on the previous slide. So there are three transformations that occur in soils. The first we'll define as mineralization. Mineralization is simply the conversion of organic nitrogen to ammonium, NH4+, and this occurs by heterotrophic organisms or microorganisms. These microorganisms need oxygen to survive. They need aerobic conditions to perform this function. The opposite of mineralization is called immobilization, and this is simply going backwards, where the conversion of inorganic nitrogen, either ammonium or nitrate, is converted to organic nitrogen, and this is driven by microorganisms in the soil. Microorganisms in the soil, when they perceive a deficiency in terms of nitrogen, they will scour the soil to find nitrate and/or ammonium and pull that up into their tissues to create amino acids and proteins. The third conversion is called nitrification, and this is when microorganisms convert ammonium to nitrate. Now, we learned about the advantages of ammonium and nitrate for plants. Remember? One of the advantages of ammonium and taking this up or absorbing it by plants is because ammonium can be converted to amino acids and proteins. And that doesn't happen with nitrate. Nitrate within plants has to be converted to ammonium first. So this is for an energy balance. Plants take up ammonium and don't have to expend as much energy to convert ammonium to an amino acid or a protein. Nitrate, on the other hand, remember, was taken up by plants for an electrochemical balance. Plants take up quite a few cations from the soil, and to balance the positive charges within cells, plants take up negative charges, just like nitrate, to offset or balance the charge for charge neutrality.